In today's video, is it time for you to take a diet break? Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and today's question I got from someone who's been trying to lose a little bit of body fat. They kind of gotten stuck, and the question really is an exciting one for me because the term diet break is rather new to the realm of those trying to lose body fat, right? We don't really use this term, and not a lot of people really fully understand what it means and what it's for. The term diet break itself can be problematic because it's not a break from dieting. It's a break from being in a caloric deficit. It stems from a study called the Matador study, which was done several years ago. But since then, I've taken under my wing to kind of create my own methodology behind a diet break. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, I coach competitive bodybuilders, okay? So if you're on the screen here, you'll see some physiques of athletes that I've coached, including world natural bodybuilding overall champions, Olympia level bikini competitors, and even myself. Yes, I compete. I just don't have the genetics to make it to the Olympia, but I still love the sport. And so I've gone through the process, well, over a decade now, of figuring out the best way to get athletes to the highest placings and also make sure that they're successful both in and out of contest prep. I'm also in the greatest phase of my coaching career. I've had more success at this phase of my career than at any point. And every year since I've been coaching has been better than the last. In fact, the last 4 to 6 months has been completely unbelievable with success after success. And, I plan to keep that going. But really, when it comes down to being a successful coach, it's really looking at opportunities to make your athletes the best version of themselves. And the one thing that I'll say is that the diet break has completely been a game changer for my athletes who are competitive bodybuilders. Now, there has been some discussion over whether diet breaks are useful for those that are just lifestyle people trying to lose body fat. And I think that's a fair question because a diet break, the way I'm going to explain it to you, requires a great attention to detail. Now, who pays great attention to detail? Competitive bodybuilders. If I give them macros, they are hitting them exactly. If I give them cardio, they are doing it exactly. If I tell them what days to train and what days to take off, they are doing it exactly. So I get to work with them in great detail. The problem becomes when we tell people that are lifestyle or not taking it as dedicated to take a diet break, they maybe just track less diligently, and that's not really a fair conversation, okay? So let's talk about your situation. I want to ask your question and we can go from there. I'm 6 foot, 223 pounds, down from 240. Been trying to lose very slowly, keeping calories high. I believe I plateaued at 223 and 2,300 calories, lifting 3 days a week, 10,000 steps a day, incline cardio, 35 minutes, 7 on the treadmill. I can't lower calories and keep it sustainable. My goal is to get to 195 to 200. Is it time for a diet break? I'm not 100% sure how to do that. Seeing the scale go up frightens me a bit. How do I break the plateau? Thanks for all you do. Now, I also noticed you're 24 years old here. You also asked a question a while back about going down to 1,500 calories in 2000. So it sounds like you've experimented a little bit, which I certainly commend. Now, what I'll typically do if someone gets their calories down to a level where you're at, 2,300 calories at 223 pounds is roughly 10 times your body weight. That for me is, when I start to really pay attention to, are we getting enough nutrition for our benefits? But you're only training 3 days a week. And most of my athletes are training 5 or 6 days a week, hard, bodybuilder style. So training 3 days a week and doing some walking doesn't sound all that intense. And I don't know what you're doing outside of that. My first thought would be just focus on moving more, right? You're doing a cardio session once a day, move twice a day. You talked about how you were thinner in high school in a previous post, and I've talked about this before. Our metabolisms don't change as we get older. I think that's an excuse a lot of people use. Your metabolism does not change. Your lifestyle changes. Your metabolism is just the result of how many calories you burn through the chemical processes in your body. And a lot of that is impacted by our daily activity, our sleep, our stress, and how many steps we get per day. Well, guess what we don't have a lot of in high school? Stress. Guess what we have a lot of in high school? Activity. You're walking from class to class, you're walking around campus, you're busy after school, and you don't have stress, okay? I know we think we're stressed in high school, but really when you get a little bit older in life, you get some responsibilities, you get some bills, you get a job, you might be in a relationship, you have a kid. Those kind of things can really change how sedentary you are. So I think my first thought would be, before we delve into the topic of a diet break, just focus on adding more daily activity to your life. Go for bike rides, play some basketball, and be very diligent with the diet. It's very easy to be on 2,300 calories and not losing weight, because once every 7 or 10 days, you go out and you have 4 or 5,000 calories. You splurge, okay? Keeping body fat on is very easy. Getting it off is a challenge, okay? Now, what I have found is that it's very easy to keep body fat off once you get it off. The fight is really in getting the body fat off. And before you call body fat stubborn, I have found that not be the case at all. I find that people are stubborn, not body fat. So the process of taking a diet break for you, I don't think would be that beneficial. I haven't heard you complain about your process. Now, when I'm checking in with my clients weekly, we're learning about the process of, okay, how's our hunger? How's our sleep? How's our stress? But at 2,300 calories, you've plateaued at about 45 minutes of cardio. I would bump that up to an hour on the cardio, and I would bump those calories down to 2,000. And I would likely add 1 day per week where we increase carbohydrates. So maybe 1 day per week, you come back up to 2,300 calories, but those 300 calories come only from carbohydrates. That's going to restore your glycogen, your muscle fullness. It's going to really give you a better look, and it'll give you a little bit of a boost. Also, it gives you a break, right? It's something to look forward to. You got your refeed day where you get to add a couple hundred extra carbs. The purpose of this is that it is a grind to be in a caloric deficit, right? You got to learn to deal with hunger. You got to learn to deal with some fatigue. So it comes down to how important is it to you to reach this 195 to 200 pounds. That's 23 pounds to 28 pounds of fat loss. That is a significant amount of time. That's going to take you several months if you're going to do it properly. So to do that, you got to be rather detailed, and you got to have a goal that matters to you. Just saying you want to be a weight on a scale, I find to be very ineffective. The most effective method I find is to have a very specific date and a very specific reason. Now, not everybody wants to do a bodybuilding show like me and my clients, and I understand that, but you can also just schedule a vacation, a photo shoot, an event where you know you're going to have your shirt off. You can enter a transformation challenge. We do multiple of those per year. Just something that gives you a deadline and a purpose. You're going to wake up every day with a reason to say yes to your plan and a reason to say no to the tomfoolery that your friends are doing that's going to keep you from reaching your plan. Now, the term diet break comes from a research study out of Australia called the Matador study, where essentially, I'm going to give it to you really briefly. They had 2 groups of people. One group of people dieted for 16 weeks consecutively in a caloric deficit. The other group of people dieted for 16 weeks, but after every 2 weeks of fat loss, they did 2 weeks of maintenance. They predicted their maintenance calories. They brought their calories up and their cardio down for 2 weeks at a time. Now, over the course of 16 weeks, the one group lost body fat. The other group, which actually had to diet twice as long, so it was over 30 weeks of dieting, actually lost more body fat. They kept more muscle. They also had less instances of going off plan after the diet ended, and they kept more body fat off. So I ask you, was that successful? For sure. However, not everybody, especially in my situation, if I'm coaching a competitor, I can't just change the date of the show. So I don't have the option to put people into 2-week deficits and 2-week maintenance phases. So what I have done with this research and what I have found with bodybuilders is that if you give them short periods of recovery, bringing food up and cardio down, some amazing things happen. Now, these amazing things tend to happen the leaner you get. I don't do diet breaks at the beginning of a dieting phase, right? The lower we get or the closer we get to body fat that is going to be stage ready, the more beneficial diet breaks become, okay? Now, this is going to be difficult research to perform. I don't know too many bodybuilders that are willing to go sit in a lab when they're contest lean. I've done it myself. It's a pain in the butt. You don't want to do it. I've done it for the sake of research here at USF. We have some great research going on. So that made it easy for me, but I am my own researcher, okay? I work with hundreds of bodybuilders every year and coaching them to be the best version of themselves. I have found that the diet break is the most valuable tool I have ever found. I find that we are keeping more muscle. We are keeping our metabolic rate higher. We are not having eating disorder behavior. Post-competition, there's less rebounding. In fact, I don't even use a technical reverse diet anymore. Why? Because I'm bringing my clients' calories up going into a bodybuilding competition. This diet break, commonly referred to as peak week, is a period where we drop cardio and bring food up. Is this going to be valuable for you? I don't know that you're lean enough. I would say for men, you probably need to be closer to that 10 to 12% body fat to benefit from a diet break. Otherwise, you're just going to be probably putting some body fat back on. Even though we're going into maintenance and dropping the cardio, your calories aren't that aggressive. Your cardio's not that aggressive. And I don't know that you would benefit from it other than just getting to eat a little bit more food. I would wait until you've actually been seeing a bit more progress and you're a bit closer to that 10 to 12% body fat. Now, at 6 foot, For you, that's probably going to be under 200 pounds, probably closer to 190, maybe even 185 pounds. I'll show you a video of me here, 6'3", 210 pounds. Very well defined abs, as you can see here. This is where diet breaks really benefit me. So for most people, I consider myself to be, slightly above average in the muscle building department. If you're anywhere in this realm of having muscle, at 6 foot, you're probably going to have to be closer to 190, 185 to be 10 to 12% body fat. And that's when the diet breaks are really going to be beneficial. Now, you can take them along the way for sure. How do you do it? Bring your calories up by 25%, drop your cardio by 50%. Do that for a week, but very, very detailed, and stick to it. Now, if you notice that your scale is creeping up, just bring the calories back down. That shouldn't be a problem, okay? Now, if you are lean, something magical might happen. When I'm shredded or my clients are shredded, when I put them in a diet break, I'll actually see them drop weight with more food and less cardio. And while this might seem kind of odd, it's not odd at all for a competitive bodybuilder, because things get compromised when you're getting to very low body fat. Things like your metabolic rate, things like your eat or your non-exercise activity, things like sleep, things like hormones. And when you bring food up and drop cardio down, you can get a slingshot effect of all the benefits of that happening at the same time that you're just slightly bringing up food. So you're not actually creating maintenance. You're actually just moving the dial a little bit. So while you're still in a deficit, because you're changing the other end of the equation, while calories are coming up, the calories you're burning are actually going up as well. It's a fun place to be, especially as a competitive bodybuilder. But for you, I don't think a diet break would be necessary right now. I would have to know more. I'd have to see pictures of body fat. But really, I think you should probably just dig your heels in a little bit deeper and pick a deadline and pick a goal. That's really what's going to cause the change, because allowing yourself to be the same weight for weeks at a time, that tells me that there's not a lot of urgency, and without urgency, you're not going to get there. This is why when you want to see somebody shredded, they've been competing in a bodybuilding competition. I'm sorry. The average person is not willing to go through what you have to go through to get to that elite level of conditioning. Okay. It's a really fun process for me. I really enjoy it. Yeah, there's tough days, but there's tough days in everything that you do. But the rewards are really fun to see. It's really cool to manipulate your body, to see what you're capable of, to push yourself. And you learn a lot. The lessons I've learned have allowed me to be a very successful person. So I would really encourage you to give yourself a deadline, give yourself a goal. If not a bodybuilding show, if not a transformation challenge, maybe you just pick a date that you want to be shredded for this summer. Maybe your friends have a trip plan. Maybe you're going to be doing something this summer with your shirt off. Make that your deadline. Make that your Northern Star. Make that your reason for getting down to 10 or 12% body fat. I promise you, that's really the only way it's going to happen. All right. Hopefully this helps you in your journey. If you have any other questions, guys, please comment below and I'll talk to you tomorrow.